Hello, you are watching Western Reserve News. I'm your host, Bruce Rogers, and we invite you to sit back and watch the highlights of meetings that we are doing this week. On Tuesday, Western Reserve News was at the Poland Village Council meeting. On Wednesday, December 2nd, 2015, Western Reserve News was at the Canfield City Council meeting. At the Canfield City Council meeting, budget constraints. There may not be leaf pickups.
I don't know if this is the right place to introduce this in this evening's agenda, but we seem to not be able to get any feedback from people of Canfield as to working out a budget and where we're going to react to the loss of revenue that the city of Canfield has had. I can read a list of 17 things that I've created as to where we might reduce cost, increase fees, do various things. The biggest savings that I have on my list is the leaf and twig pickup. And that's not really enough to cover what we've lost. But we're going to have to come out of the closet, and I think we have 9 people here that aren't officials, if you please. And that's not enough. We need the community to start to talk to us as to what they want to do. We're in the midst of collective bargaining agreements with our police department, and we don't have the money, folks. We don't have the money. Do we revisit the polling place and ask for 1/4% or 0.5% again? Do we tell our story better? We need input from people. What can we do? What should we do? Let's take leaf pickup as an example. I don't care. I really don't care. You know why I don't care? My lawn people make my leaves disappear. And I give them money when they do it. So on the questionnaire that went around through the city, I checked off, would you pay to have those leaves picked? Would you pay the city to have those leaves? My answer was no. I already pay a private concern. But for the people that depend on that, that's going to be a major consideration.
Should the city of Canfield be paying for a resource officer if the township doesn't help?
The second item I had is I had an inquiry about our status of our school resource officer contract. I believe that we have a contract with Canfield Township to share the cost of the school resource officer in the Canfield schools. What's the status on that contract as it sits right now?
I've spoken to the superintendent this morning on another matter, the Safe Routes to School program, and he had received a letter from the township requesting their participation in that, and suggested that when we get together after the Safe Routes to School that we get in touch with the township and find a date that we can meet again and discuss that. So the line of communication has started back again. It's been cut off for the last couple of months.
Has the township paid anything at all toward their allocation for 2015?
No, there's been no agreement signed. There's nothing, no participation with the township at this point.
So at this point, we have been paying 100% of the cost of a police officer to be in the school.
Right.
And our agreement was that the township would pay a portion of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, the past agreement is correct. Right?
Okay. If we cannot reach an agreement on that, and given our current financial situation, as much as I hate to say this, I am opposed to having a school resource officer in the Canfield schools if we're not going to work out some sort of an arrangement to be able to cover those costs.
Okay. Bring that message to the meeting.
That total number is $30,173 on the low end that Canfield Township agreed to pay us and has not.
$30,000?
$173.82.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody care about the street lighting?
The only other thing I have is, last night we had a public meeting here for Kings Lake. They want to put lighting in their streets. And it involves some 96 families, and there was maybe 30 people here last night, and that included husband and wife. So if you divide that in two, maybe 15, maybe 20 people of interest. And just the complacency that just bothers me. Next council meeting, we're going to be asked to vote on whether or not this community gets these street lights, and we assess this cost to these people involved. And letters were sent out. They were certified. They were asked to respond if they had opposition. And again, we get 15, 20 people last night, and maybe 5 or 6 of them were against, and the rest were for it. But it's the complacency that really bothers me. I wish I had more feedback from those people as to the consensus. It's hard to make a decision for those individuals in that community whether or not the majority wants it or doesn't want it. So I guess I'm just asking, if anybody lives up in that area, if we can get feedback as councilmen, or get Joe the information, so that we have a better feel of how that neighborhood wants to look, and the assessment and all that. So.
And here's City Manager Joe Warino's manager report.
First off, I received the results from MS Consultants on the traffic control signs, the warrant study. Back in October, it was brought to the attention of council that there was 4 intersections that it was opinion that they didn't warrant stop signs. And of those 4, all 4 of them met the criteria of the Ohio Department of Transportation. They also looked at the one suggested intersection of Glenview and Garwood of putting a stop sign in on Glenview, and that one did not meet the minimum requirements for a stop sign. In fact, it was brought to our attention that even though there's a stub street there, that there's 2 drives that come off of it, we should have a stop sign on that intersection, so we might have to get that taken care of to meet the criteria. But it doesn't warrant any stop on Glenview Avenue. I'll make copies of those and get them to council in a packet this week. I've also received an email from the Windsor Home project developer, and they noted that they hired their architect and the civil engineering firms, and they're going to proceed with their project, and that they're not interested in pursuing the Ohio Department of Development funding for the off-site utilities, because they want to start moving ahead and they don't want to have anything to hold them back. So just to get you aware of what's going on there, they're moving forward. I've also received a correspondence from the city's consultant with reference to the North Broad Street Safety Upgrade Project. And tomorrow and Friday, they'll be doing soil borings on North Broad Street, so there'll be some lane interruptions for temporary periods throughout the day. But they anticipate it only taking 2 days. They're going to be doing 8 borings in that area where they'll be making the final improvement. I also received information from the city's assigned consultant from ODOT with reference to the Safe Routes to Schools. They'll be coming in on Monday and Tuesday of next week to view student movements at the elementary schools. I've coordinated this with the superintendent. We'll be participating with their staff as well, and just kind of observing what happens during the arrival, what happens during the dismissal at the 3 schools, looking at the different traffic patterns, and looking at the geometrics of the areas around the schools. So that project's moving along as well. Just an FYI, I've been subpoenaed to appear in court on Monday or Tuesday of the week of the 14th with reference to the replacement of the sidewalks along South Broad that happened back in 2010. And if you can recall, there was an issue with the dissatisfaction of the work that took place. The contractor has filed suit against the supplier of the concrete, and for whatever reason I was asked to appear there, so I don't know what my role will be in that, but we're the ones that were dissatisfied and ordered the rework be done, so I'll let you know how that goes after. And lastly, I did receive a notice from Columbia Gas that they're going to be going to the PUCO in February requesting an approximate 2% rate increase to cover a lot of what you see happening in Canfield, a lot of the infrastructure removal and replacement costs within their system. So just kind of an FYI on that one as well. We'll get more information as we get closer to that date.
Canfield Councilman Morvay, what's the latest on the fire district?
Mr. Morvay. Just update on the fire district. All the permits and zoning has been cleared for the new station on Herbert Road. And so now the architect is going back and forth with the chief, trying to drill down and see, exactly what the building's going to look like, fit our budget. And so moving forward, hopefully the springtime, maybe we can break ground. So yeah, very good.
John?
Yeah.
Has the committee started a search for a replacement member for Mr. Sprinkle?
Yeah, so we have a few applicants that have come forward, and but anybody interested sitting on the fire district is more than welcome to contact Chief Hutchinson and a small little resume perhaps, and we're more than glad to entertain them.
On Tuesday, Western Reserve News was at the Poland Village Council meeting. Poland Village is taking bids on a car.
We are going to re-advertise for the bids on the 2008 Silverado. Those will be advertised 12/3, 12/5, 12/10, and 12/12. The bids will be opened at the next meeting at 7 p.m. I issued a purchase order for 100 tons of salt.
How much is that for?
The purchase order is for $7,500. The bill should be about $7,300. Salt is now at about $73 a ton. Last year was $140.
Yeah.
So it's in half.
It's half, wow.
I've prepared the fiscal officer's certificate for the street resurfacing for Sheridan Road for next year.
Council is getting complaints of a water smell.
Has anybody been reaching out to the town hall about their drinking water? Okay. I've had a couple people say stuff to me about their drinking water, and I'm just curious. As far as what? Well, some people say they smell sulfur in it, and other people say now, because they called the Aqua and complained, and now it smells very chlorinated.
At the Poland Village Council meeting, let's listen to the mayor's comments.
Of course, everyone knows the Christmas celebration is this Saturday. I believe it starts at 5:30. And there'll be all kinds of stuff everywhere. The library will have stuff. Peterson Park will have stuff. And here, of course. And it should be, weather-wise, looks good so far. So we're lucky there. We did talk about the blinds and the lights in Paula's office. Getting that stuff fixed up. And she had asked me last week, she was trying to figure her schedule for the holidays and next year, early in the year, about taking some days off. And there's a couple of conflicting dates with Sandra, the other girl that subs here. So she had asked if we had thought about getting another replacement, like when we had the two people at one time. So we never talked about it, but that's something we should look at, to have a backup to our backup, maybe.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So I'll talk to Russ. He usually finds people somewhere. If anyone knows anybody who might be interested. So.
We're talking about another part-time position,
Yes.
correct?
Just in case she can't do it and Saunders can't. And I told her, I said, if you have to take some time off, and try not to do like 2 consecutive days in a row. Like if you have to close the office for a day in the middle of the week or something. But I don't want her to close it for 3 or 4 days in a row because Saunders can't do it. So I don't want to get in that situation. I put in everyone's box a letter that I received from Dr. Bissell from the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. I don't know if we got the chance to read that about the ash trees and the woods and stuff like that. And the one thing that he did, other than the ash trees themselves, he talked about the deer herd. And we've always had issues with that, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent. Every time I come down my street, I see 6, 7, 8 deer every day religiously. So, Gordon or Andy, do you have any